guess we tested it. There we go. Okay, I'm recording now. Hi, can everyone hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Brooke. Hello.
Great. Great. Right. Thank everyone for coming today. We have 6 or 7 of us in person and 6 or 7 of us online. And it is a cold, breezy morning. So the first thing that we did was come into the barn when it got unlocked to get out of the weather, which is part of why we need to undertake this exercise. So our goal is to make sure that we have safe structures for human occupants, especially in extreme weather conditions. We know that we have quite a few post-frame buildings, somewhere upwards of 180 throughout the entire university. And so the goal of this internal survey is to identify and make sure we have a good inventory of the buildings that we have, and make sure or take the first steps to kind of understand the basic condition of those buildings, to understand if we need to have an engineer come out and take a deeper look. And for those that we do need to have an engineer take a deeper look, we can prioritize them, because with 180 buildings, we're not going to send somebody out and get this done overnight, right? So it's just to understand what we have is our first goal, so that then we can understand if we do need to undertake repairs or further analysis, or if we don't, we can just make better plans. So that's our goal today. And we're just going to kind of step through each of the steps that the survey team will do. And this is like an active, engaged thing. So I'm sorry for Teams, for those of you on Teams, we're going to be walking around a lot. We're going to be getting in and out of equipment. But Brooke is recording this, and we're even going to do some video snippets before, and we're going to send that out along with written instructions so everybody can refer back. So if it's not working real well for you that are trying to follow along live online, we'll have maybe a cleaner version to follow up with. And I am going to be available when we y'all get started with the buildings. I'm going to have some set times that I'm available. And then I'm also going to just be available anytime you get a call, or you need to call. If we get started and this building just doesn't match, what we kind of talked about in the training, I'm not quite sure what to do. Have any questions? I'm available for a call. I'm also available for a video chat or a Teams. And then the guys that are in person here, for the training too, I'm sure can help out. So let's go ahead and get started. Brooke, you just kind of want to pan around here. The first thing that we would do before we come inside is start outside. And we want to look, we're in this building because we know a lot about this building. But we want to, from the outside, take that initial look. Some of these will be buildings that you all are in or have animals in on a regular basis. Some of them might be literally out in the back 40. Maybe nobody's paid attention to them for a decade or so. So we always want to start on the outside and just look for any hazards. Make sure it's safe to even go in and take a look at things. And so we can, I'm going to share it here and switch to the app. I guess I should have started there. Have all of you guys gotten access to the training? No. Okay. Let's actually back up. Then do you guys have your phones on you?
Yes.
Okay. For anybody that has their phone, we'll send it out again, but attached in this meeting was a QR code that will take you to a website where we have an interactive collection data that you can just do on your phone. So you should be able to do all of this with very limited equipment. And we'll send you a website too. So you can do this from a tablet, you can do it from your phone, you can do it on a piece of paper and then enter it back into the app when you get back to your desk. Whatever works for you. And we're really just going to be looking for some simple information about the buildings, because you guys are not engineers and we know that. We don't expect you to analyze or assess or anything like that. It's just a survey of basic information. Was I sharing it, Brooke?
Nope.
Okay. Get back to Teams here.
It says the survey is not accessible or does not.
Okay. So,
They wouldn't click it.
if you weren't, we had a list of everybody that we thought was going to need this that got access. So we will get, if anyone else needs access, we will get it for you. We'll just also send out my email and you can just email me. I'll get it to Larissa. We'll get everybody access. In the meantime, do you have Teams on your phone by any chance?
Yes.
It's okay. It's fine if you don't. We can just follow along here. Let me get back to Teams. Can everybody online hear okay still?
Yeah, we hear fine.
Okay.
And now we see the app.
Awesome. Okay. So the first thing that we're going to do is when we get to a building, and I'll show for you guys, this is the app. We've got a lovely little map, and you press that. You have to allow your phone or a device to do GPS location. And then it should, oh, it's still thinking. It should find you. Or not. It did the last time I checked.
It did 20 minutes ago in the car.
See if I can scroll over. Use current location. Let me try it again.
What's the site that has every OSU building on it?
It's linked to our GIS,
Yeah.
so it should have all buildings on it. If you guys find buildings that we don't have on the map, just collect the data and we'll get them turned to the system. Because we might have some stuff, again, out in the back 40 that you know, maybe we didn't know about, or we don't even have it listed as a building. And so we do want to capture that stuff too. Okay. So we will skip that. You should be able to click right on that. It should ideally go to a pin, and then we'll know which building you're at, and you won't have to fill in all the building or any information about which building. So we're gonna hop outside. Real quick. And this is actually, again, what we want to do first before we even come into the building. We're gonna hop outside and take a look at the outside and start collecting that basic information. Sorry, let me grab my. Hold back here. We're gonna walk down to this end because I know that this end is work on this building. So on our app here, we have all the exterior faces of the building. Some of them will be northwest. That's okay. It just kind of helps us keep a little oriented with the flat in the back. And we want to take a walk around the outside of the building and take photos of the entire exterior of the building. And while we're doing that, we want to be looking for, first of all, is it safe to go inside? Second of all, for the survey purposes, everything's straight. Is it plumb? Do we have eaves that are bowing? Do we have ridges that are bowing? Is the whole building, like on any of the corners, are they leaning out? Those kinds of things. Because what we're really looking for is, do we have a stable structure? So you can, I'm gonna go back. See it? You just hit take photo. It's gonna come right up. We can take our photo of the exterior, and that's done. So we want to do that with each of the sides. Again, while you're doing that, you're looking for anything wonky, pretty much.
Are we inspecting gutters like that too, or?
So for the purposes of this, you can make any notes about building pollution while you're doing this that you want, but what we're really after is the structural stability of the building. or deterioration. There will be stuff in the way, and that's okay. Got equipment around. If it's easy to move, it's nice. But if not, it's not the end of the world.
Okay.
We're hoping that once you kind of get in the groove, this is maybe the whole process is maybe like less than 30 minutes of building. So this is, so we're gonna come back and we want to get, when we take these shots, we do want to get like the entire building. And if you do notice anything that's leaning or wonky or anything like that, we want to try to maybe make sure we're catching a view where we can catch that. And there's a place at the bottom of the app where you can put in some extra pictures. So we're gonna skip over to the other side real quick. I'm not gonna do all four sides today. Really cold. I know, but I was in. You guys don't have to walk out in the mud, but I'm going to get a photo here. Here. This is the beginning. And you can see it when you're kind of driving up the drive. So that's something that we would want to do. Alright. So, do you see anything like that? About what you think. They're all worked out. They'll go in. Call me. We'll figure it out. So, this is not something that I would be cautious about walking in to see what was going on, but but we do want to take it. Right. Sorry, my nub fingers for hitting the buttons as we walked. Okay. I know. A screwdriver works just fine. We had some apparently I had too high of a quality a screwdriver when we went to get some grooves for the testing, and they couldn't get grooves in. So the shop in Columbus made me a specialized tool. So, okay. So if we scroll down on our collection, we're going to get to a section where we say overall structural ability. So I'm going to say that this one, we can finish the total assessment before we kind of make some decisions about this. But we also have eaves and ridge lines. We have straight and level or bowed and sagging. It's just a simple check. So I'm going to pick bowed and sagging. Okay, so the first thing I do when I come in, if I decide it's safe to come in, is if I notice any bow or sagging, I'm gonna kind of see what's going on in that area to make sure that, again, keeping yourself safe. So this one, we had some posts removed at some point, and a header put in that was maybe not quite doing its job, and somebody's tried to help it out a little bit, but we still got a bow there. But I don't see any cracking. I don't see anything that's of a concern where I feel like I can't fix this. But that is something of note. So that's probably a good good time to come down to the bottom in the other photos and take some pictures of that. What we got going on here. So the next thing we're going to do is tell us a little bit about the building, because this is going to help us prioritize. We do have some barns where we have apartment types or sleeping quarters in that for students or other staff and faculty to take care of the animals. Most of you guys are probably very familiar with. We might prioritize if we're seeing some deterioration in the structure, we might prioritize getting an engineer out to look at that, compared to a building like this where we've got equipment in it, which is a financial risk, but not as high a risk to human life. So anything that applies, this one, some we have offices, we have classrooms in some of our post frame structures. This one is just equipment and storage or maintenance. I might say general storage too for this one. We don't have animals. There's another box if you need it. Estimated structure age. If you, being familiar with the sites, know about how old the building is, tell us. We don't always have good data on this one, on that. I know that this was acquired in the 70s, and I believe that this one was like 1950. If you don't know, it's okay. You can leave that blank. Okay. Okay, now we're gonna do foundation types, and we might need to hop back outside for this. But we're gonna start with kind of like walking around the edge and looking at the base of all of our. So do we see that they're sitting on concrete, or are they sitting on like a CMU block wall, anything like that? Or do they appear to be buried in the dirt? And sometimes that can be a little hard to figure out, especially when you have a slab on the interior. Just because you have a slab on grade like this does not mean that the foundation is slab. This is just your walking surface. So we're looking for what's under the posts. So when we have slab on grades, a little difficult to see if the slab pours up right there. So we want to walk around the entire interior and look at that. And then another way we can usually tell, the best way to tell, is if we hop back outside and look around the manboard. Usually you'll see if it's got CMU, you're going to see it here. And you might need to take your shovel or your hammer and dig a little bit. And sometimes the manboard goes in front of the post, which this is actually a good example of that. But this is where you would normally see if it's going to come up and you've got an actual concrete found. This one does not, so I'm going to show you. Go back. This one's wood post very directly in ground. Just going to grab that. Okay. My roof type is metal. My siding type is metal. You can be as specific or as not specific as you want. Metal as opposed to steel is fine.
Well, if you got one that's on block, concrete blocks.
For under the posts themselves.
No, the building sits on blocks, but has posts sitting on top of the concrete block.
If it's
Wow.
post on top, we'll change this to stay concrete or block wall or pier. It was actually supposed to say, thank you, I didn't catch that before.
I'm just asking. We got everything like that, so.
Yep, and if you, that's a common enough one, I'll actually add that to be a check in here. But you can always hit other, because we we understand that we're gonna see a very wide variety of conditions. And when we come into any given structure, probably on most of them, you will find things that don't perfectly fit the questions in here. We understand that. Just to get us as close as we can. Again, the goal is not that you perform an engineering analysis, it's just to help us like kind of rank the buildings and understand what we need to get a better look at. So, roof and siding type are metal. Okay. Grab my bag. Now we want to get some dimensions. Depending on how full the building is or what it is, you might be able to get these from the inside, if you might be able to get them from the outside. We do have some little graphics here to kind of help. The length, most of our buildings are going to be rectangular. We might have some that have wings coming out the side or, you know, L-shaped or whatever. This isn't going to be a perfect fit. Do the best you can. And again, call me if you have questions. You can always do a little markup. You can attach that. You can email me. We just want like a really rough idea of how big we're talking. And we want to understand how tall we are. Part of the way these buildings work is, you know, typically it might be 8 feet, it might be 10 feet. It's usually about 8 feet that we have posts buried in the ground. But when they're buried in the ground and the wind blows, it's the post that's holding the building up, right? And so the taller it is, the more wind we're catching and the more stress we have on the post. So if we have a really tall, slender building, you know, that, and we're seeing post deterioration, that might kick it up a little higher. Oh, let's get somebody out and take a look at that and make sure we're safe. So we might be able to do these from the inside or the outside. You can do these. I think that Joe is going to get some laser measurers to distribute if you guys don't already have them. There should be some that will be available tomorrow. Get mine on the bottom of the bag here first. So I didn't leave it there.
I got mine.
Oh, you got yours? Awesome.
Yeah, it's too cold, it won't work.
I had it in my hand right before I got out of the van. I must have sat it back down when I got out of the van instead of setting in my bags. I can run out and get it.
So you want to run together real quick?
Actually, we'll just do that last. This one we might be able to catch from the inside. We might not. You can also use if you have like 100-foot tape. That's all right. Yeah. We are not looking for the nearest inch or nearest inch or quarter inch. Like
Within a half a foot,
within a foot is
Foot.
perfectly fine. Within 2 feet is perfectly fine. We want to know really, you know, are we talking about something that's, you know, a 20-foot long run-in shed, or are we looking at something, you know, that's 100 foot, you know, large barn? So let's see if, and some, depending on the quality of your laser measurer, it might take more than one shot. You might have to find something kind of intermediate and add them together. So if we come and let's see if we can catch it inside here. Maybe not. If you just put the back up here, can we get clear down there?
Here,
You're still sharing your screen.
you're still going to your right. There we go.
Sharing.
Yeah, 100.
Or I can't see it.
Go down just a little
Oh.
bit.
Sorry, it looks like we're having some technical difficulties with Teams.
There you are.
Right there?
Yep.
120 feet.
Count a second. I'll count in a second. Yeah, that's what
Okay, I'll wait to share. Okay. So you got 120? Okay. I'm going to share again. There we go. So this is gonna be our side wall length, is we're just gonna put in 120 for that. Okay, let's see if we can shoot across too. Okay. Okay, and now since most of them are gonna be this roof shape, which we call a gable. For the gable, we wanna get it at the peak. So in general, no matter if we might have a shed roofs or flat roofs or anything like that, but if we've got a shed or a gable or a gambrel, we wanna just hit it at the highest point, yeah. And again,
But we got Halo.
then you might need to go, a good place to do it would be like on the outside where the eave overhangs. And just come down to the ground and go up. And sometimes, your interior floor slab and your exterior might be a little different. That's okay.
We got 26.6.
26.6, okay. I'm gonna put in 26.5. Okay, now here comes the fun stuff. Number of interior posts. Okay, so this one we clear span from exterior to exterior, so we don't have any interior posts on this building. What we're gonna be looking for is sometimes when we have the trusses, we might have 2 trusses and we might have a line of posts down the center. We're gonna be looking for the number of interior ones there. So this one's a 0. Okay, and then the total number of posts. So if you do have an interior line, that's gonna count your interior and then just keep adding on to get your exterior. Let's grab the total number of posts you got here. So we wanna count the corners too. You want me to stop, I'll stop sharing here. Okay. Sorry, it's a little bit clunky. So Brooke can, there we go. Okay, so we want to count the corners. Let's grab these. And this is also a good time while you're counting these to look at what kind of posts we have. Like, is it a solid sawn 4x4, 6x6? Probably not going to see solid, it's only 8x8. Fine. Or is it, multiple plies of 2x that are laminated together? So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. Two, 3, 34. I got 34. Did you guys get 34? That's okay. So I'm gonna put that in the app. Okay. And now here comes the really fun part. We're gonna do the screwdriver tests. And we're gonna do this to each of the posts.
Did you want to share your screen for this?
Okay. I do. Sorry, going back and forth with the sharing for everybody that's trying to catch on.
There we go.
All right. So in the app, we have a little chart. I'm also going to email out a chart with a few more post configurations. But I don't know what all we have. And so to try to make something that's like all inclusive, I don't want it to be, ages long that you're scrolling. So if you have a post configuration that isn't on the chart, just email me and I'll make one for you. Or collect some data and then we'll kind of work together afterwards. But what we're really looking at here. Oops,
Will you swipe that away?
Oh, okay.
There we go.
Are you seeing?
Yep.
And so let me get another thing open here. All right, it's finicky here. Sorry, I'm gonna stop sharing. Bear with me just a second here so I can share.
I'll edit this part out.
Okay, thank you. I was trying to swipe to another one and I swiped it closed instead. So. Okay. All right. Let's try it again. All right, here we go. Okay. What we are looking for when we look at post deterioration is how much of the cross-sectional section loss we have of a post. And then we're gonna we're gonna drop it into one of three categories. We've got less than 10% deterioration, between 10 and 50, or greater than 50. And so to do that, we're gonna simplify it a little bit and it won't be perfect. And that's okay. We're just, again, it's a little bit bad or not bad at all. We got something going on here, or oh my goodness, like we don't have much post left. That's kind of the categories that we're looking for. And then we want to do that for each post because we want to know at the end then when we look at an entire building, okay, do we have maybe half the posts are in the not too bad range and the other, next 25% of the posts are, these are looking pretty good, and maybe a quarter of the posts they're completely gone. That's going to tell us how urgent it is to get somebody else out to look at the building. So this building has 3-ply 2x8 posts. And I messed up my chart here. That actually should say 2x8. And so we're gonna categorize. Sorry, I'm flipping back and forth here for partially people online here. So you saw those D measurements. We're looking from the face of the post into the greatest point of deterioration. What is that distance? And that's where we're going to use our screwdrivers. Very specific engineering information here. We are going to stab the post with a screwdriver. Like that's all it comes down to. So let's hop over here to, I know that's going to be a post method. Oops. I'm sorry, let me, would somebody mind grabbing the hammer out of my, my bag there? So it's going to be, you're going to have a shovel with you. Ideally, you can shovel a hammer. We might need to dig down a little bit to be able to check the posts. We're not trying to get to the bottom of the post. We're not trying to dig to China. We are just trying to, especially if it's built up or you've got manure or things like that, we're going to want to get some of that out of the way. And it's definitely do the best you can. Like it doesn't have to be perfect. And so we're going to want to try to hold your post level, your screwdriver level-ish at the worst part so that we can know how far it's going in. So the screwdriver that you get, just to make it easy, is going to be marked off in 1/4 inch increments. So I can't quite hit level here. It's all right. I'm going to do the best I can. So before you stab where you see the deterioration, come up to this part of the post that looks good and kind of just get a feel for it. Because when you stab it in down low, that's what we're aiming for. And if you've got this one, they created for me is a weapon, and it maybe goes in 1/8 of an inch. It's close enough, but it's not really going in enough to make a difference. If you were stabbing up high and it was going in 1/4 of an inch, you might want to take 1/4 inch off, right? You get your measurement down here. So I can't quite get level. I'm going to do the best I can. If you start, taking wood out when you're doing that, don't worry too much about it. If you going like this is causing it to like break away, you're not gonna make it worse because that's not good enough wood to hold up anyway. So go until you get down to something solid, like, yeah. So I'm at a little bit of an angle, so I'm gonna take that into account. I am an inch in there. So I've got an inch of loss on one side. Okay. Now I want to get the outside of that too. So it's really cool. We're gonna go and do the same thing from the outside, and we're gonna add those two together. So this one, I'm gonna say it's pretty good on the outside. If I was out there and stabbing it, I'm gonna pretend that I got maybe a half an inch. So I'm gonna say that's an inch and a half. Okay. And so a lot of times we might only be seeing deterioration on two sides. Sometimes we might be seeing it on all four. So if we've got only deterioration on two sides, I'm going to take those two opposite sides at the worst spot on each. I'm going to add them together. I'm going to say, okay, an inch plus an inch and a half. And I'm going to see if I can get back to this without,
You're not sharing anymore.
oh, I'm not sharing anymore.
I think it's because your phone locked.
Oh. Okay. Get the teams here. So this one, I've got a chart for 3-ply 2x8. When we come into rectangular posts, we do have to pay a little bit of attention whether we're measuring from the short side or the long side. Because when we're talking about cross-sectional area, if you go in a half an inch on the short side times the width, that's very different than if you go a half an inch in on the long side times the width, right? So we've got some asterisks there, and I am going in on the short side. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say I'm an inch and a half total. So I am between a half inch and 2 1/4 inch. So I'm in the 10 to 50% deterioration range if I've only got deterioration on one side. Okay, so if I'm 10 to 50 and I've got deterioration now on this face too that I can really see, I'm going to say that's not too bad. That's well under a 1/4 inch. Given that there's a slab there, I can't get down to probably where it's worse. I've done the best I can with that, right? So this side, maybe I can. This side, it looks like we've got a board that got sistered on there to catch our band board. So I'm just gonna dig down here as best I can to where, okay, yeah, I'm seeing a little deterioration there. So I'm going in, I'm gonna round up and say a half an inch there. So I'm a half an inch total. So for that side, it would put me in, I'm less than 3/4, it would put me in the 10%. So now since I've got it on both sides, I'm gonna add that together and just use some good judgment, okay? So I was an inch and a half, and 50% deterioration is from half an inch to 2 1/4. So I'm about in the middle there. If I add another 10% deterioration from this side, I'm going to say that I'm still probably under 50% for this one. If you were kind of at the top of the range, you essentially want to add your two percentages together using just a little bit of judgment. Again, you're not doing an engineering analysis. You're just trying to say, how far gone is the post? So I would put this post as the 10 to 50%. So you're going to want to have a pad of paper with you. and you're gonna wanna go and do this at every post. And then, maybe you just put a little check mark. I've got 34 posts, you know, keep some ticks. I've got 5 that are greater than 50%. I've got 25 that are, in the mid-range. So,
What about the posters can't get to this? I know on our campus, there's quite a few
Yeah.
posters.
do your best. If there's stuff in the way that's really difficult to move, we don't expect or want this to be like a 3-hour ordeal for a
Okay.
barn. So do your best. Use some judgment from what you can see and what you've been experiencing on the posts that you are able to reach. So if you're seeing, a post like this and the next one over you can't get to, I wouldn't just mark it as no deterioration. I would probably assume it's
Same.
the same as this, using some visual judgment too. So, okay. Right, I'm gonna try to get back to the app here. Okay. So then we're gonna fill that in with some, I'm gonna make up some numbers here. You do want that to add up to the total number of posts. So I'm gonna say that all the rest of these are the same. I said what, 34 posts?
Mhm.
So I'm gonna put this in as 24 for 10 to 50%. And I'm gonna say this one has 0 with greater than 50. Some of you, especially in animal facilities, will find posts that are greater than 50 or complete section loss. I've been out at some of your barns and yeah, slid the post or the screwdriver right through without even no resistance, right? Like, okay. Which kind of leads us to the next thing. So we want to take some photos of these kinds of conditions. You don't have to take a photo of every post, but maybe take a photo of your worst case and representative conditions that are like maybe your average. So I'm gonna get down in there kind of close. You can even take it with your screwdriver in, if that helps kind of show what's going on. Okay. So some other photos. So then, okay, now we've done all that. The other thing we want to be looking for is when we're walking around, and you can even do this the first time and when you're counting the posts, we want to be looking to see, okay, is there anything else going on? Do we have things that are reinforced in weird ways? Do we have anything that's cracked? We've run across a couple barns where there's maybe a repair that was done at the post base. We still want to be checking the repairs. And then we came up and it had still cracked because of repair. Like, do you see any cracks up there? You also want to be taking a look at the trusses for the same thing. Sagging, bowing. Do you have like bolts or connections that look like they've ripped out? Do we have anything cracked? Do we have web members and cord members that are coming apart? Again, you're not engineers, like, it's okay, we don't expect like every bolt or account, but just looking for the visually obvious thing, like, so we're talking, a minute or two walk around kind of thing, looking for anything that's standing out. All right. And then, so when you've done all that, and I'm sorry, I did skip one in here. We were supposed to make an interior photo also. So we want to take an interior photo. Again, we got space at the bottom next to your additional photos. All here. So then you're going to use your own non-engineering judgment to tell us what you think the overall structure condition is. Okay, so we're not, again, talking about like necessarily bad siding, eaves, things like that, although that might, if you're getting water in, that might influence your decision making. But I'm gonna say that because of the post deterioration here, I'm only gonna put this one at somewhere I would say I would even have a hard time judging between fair and poor. I'm gonna go fair because we're really, I mean, the trusses, I don't see cracking, things like that. It's just, it's the post deterioration that's the problem here. And then again, using some of your judgment, are we stable and plumb? Again, are we leaning? Are we out of whack? Are we things like that? This is a check all that applies. We are stable and plumb. We're not leaning. We're bowing a little bit. But we're not unstable or movable. Like I've been out to, one of our barns where, we've got those posts that are completely rotted off and like, you can push on it, make it swing a little. If you can lean on it and if it's a smaller structure, you can lean on it and wiggle it. Obviously unstable, movable. If that's the case, if you're like, it's small and you're wiggling the whole thing, don't go inside. Do the best you can, collect information from the outside and take the photos you can and it'll be good. Okay. So, representative, photo stability issues. So this one, I'm not going to make us go back outside. But we would want to make sure that we had a good shot, a good photo that kind of showed the bow out here right above this door that we're looking at. Okay.
What do you do with a barn that has a concrete footer and instead of a post, it just has a board that's bolted to it and it's framed onto that?
Okay, so like 2x framing at like 16 or 24 on center, that's not a post frame structure. And if you have any concerns about it, certainly call me and let me know. But that would not, that doesn't fit into kind of what we're worried about for this.
Front has posts, the back half is like that.
Oh, well then count it, do the front half, and in the comments section, just tell us what you got. It's half stick frame, half pole barn. And we're gonna have a lot of that. We're gonna have pole barn lean-tos on other types of structures. There is gonna be a lot of stuff that's like not a nice clean fit here. So collect the information that you can and just use the comments section to tell us. Okay, I think we're to the end of other photos. So that's pretty much it. Do you guys want to do some stabbing and checking? Do you have any other questions?
We have some post form, pole barns that have classrooms in them. That are completely surrounded with metal on the inside where we can't get to the post.
So it's like concrete slab on the entire interior
Well, it's
and
finished
metal?
inside,
Yeah, it's finished
Yeah.
inside and
so
outside.
you can't see the posts.
And we have a freezer building, we have several storage buildings that are lined with metal on the inside also, but we can't get to any of the posts or even take a visual on the inside.
Okay. That's definitely do the best you can. And we want to probably on those really focus on the outside. So even if you have metal siding on the outside, you're
Yeah.
probably going to have a band board
Yeah.
at some point. And even if you have a concrete stem wall, a lot of times the post gets buried in the ground and then the concrete gets poured between the posts. So that's where you're gonna, again, get your shovel and maybe come down a little bit on the outside so you can get the post there and,
Okay.
and use your best judgment and get the information you can.
So just get what we can.
Yeah. Okay.
Does anyone online have any questions? Feel free to unmute if you do.
Am I still sharing?
Yeah, you are.
Anybody online have any questions? All right. So I think that really kind of concludes the bulk of what we're going to go over. I think we might go ahead and do some sample checks on this barn while I'm here. Let you guys kind of get the feel for it. Any questions that you would have if you were going to do this barn and you started, where would you feel like you kind of got stuck? Be like, oh, I'm not so sure about that. And then if you guys want, and if you have the time, we can also head over to Molly Karen, at the Farm Science Review. They also, while everything that I did see their posts were in pretty good condition, which makes sense for the way that facility is used, right? But we've got some solids on posts there. We've got laminated posts there. We've got different types of construction we can also look at. But we will have to, it's 2 miles down the road, but we'll have to drive down to that site. So, okay. Does anybody online, if we drive down to the Farm Science Review, want us to, pick the teams back up so you can kind of see the different structure types that we're looking at? Or are you feeling pretty comfortable and just call me as needed? I'm gonna take crickets as we can end the Teams meeting. So,
Okay.
all right. Thank you
Thank
guys all for
you.
joining today. Thanks.